All right, I don't excuse me, I don't know how well this video is going to work. I got this new phone mount in my truck and it's giving me fits, so we may have some vibration. New tires on my truck that are a little rough tread too, so it might shake a little bit. Anyway, maybe not. I know it's starting to get dark on my way home from work and it's pouring rain again. Third or fourth day in a row, rain. Anyway, I just wanted to recap the season. I mean, we've got a couple weeks of season left here in Ohio, but for all intents and purposes, it's over. Deer are going to start dropping their racks. Weather's crap. Probably off again this weekend. Last 2 or 3 weekends I've been off, and that's the first time in the entire season I've had weekends off. But every time I do get time off, it pours the rain, and that's what's predicted for this weekend as well. Anyway, I just wanted to recap the season a little bit. It's really odd. I can't figure out what the heck's going on this property. Last year, I had my number one target buck. He was a 160-inch 10-point, probably 5.5-year-old, and probably 3 to 4 more 3.5 to 4.5-year-old deer on the property. My number two was a big 11-point mainframe 10 with a kicker off the G2 on the left side. I shot him, bad shot. He survived. He showed up a couple weeks later on camera, just fine. Shot was high in the back, deflected off a limb, rushed a shot. But I passed up an 8-point that was pushing high 130s. 2 smaller 8 and 10 points that were 120-inch plus 3.5-year-olds, maybe 4, I don't know. But I dedicated all last season and this season to my number one. Unfortunately, this year, first day of vacation, he was taken by a non-resident hunter, hunting bordering property. It happens. I mean, super nice guy, well deserving. I mean, you know, I was getting this deer on camera every 2 days on 2 to 3 cameras, had him patterned pretty well, knew his core area. This thing kept me up many a night last season and early in this season, but you know, I did make some new friends. The guys, the group that were hunting it, that harvested this deer, he had actually lost a little bit this season. I think he scored 158, 159. I think he was a little better last year. I think he lost a little tine length. Didn't lose any mass, but he lost some tine length. But still a very, very nice deer. Man, this wind is nuts. But anyway, property's dead early season, second, third week of October, like they always do. Deer started showing up on camera. But we had the big 10-point, a heavy 9 that I believe is the big 8-point from last year, and maybe one other borderline shooter, the real tall, tight rack deer. That was it. We've had one shooter on camera on this property since November 4th, and that's the 9-point. November 4th, we got a picture of him, 11:30 at night. No more pictures. This is running 6 or 7 cameras. Oh, excuse me. From November 4th, he disappeared. Showed back on camera one day, early December. I want to think the 6th or the 7th. And disappeared off camera again until last week. I'm sorry. Yeah, would have been Thursday night. He showed back up on camera 2 or 3 times. I've spent countless hours in the tree. Have not seen anything to make me pick the bow up off the hanger. That one 9-point is the only shooter on the property that we've seen. We've got a boatload of 2.5-year-old deer that are pretty little bucks, but super, super young. I don't know where all the mature deer went. The doe numbers on the property are down this year. I haven't actually had the opportunity to shot at a deer since I was on vacation November 6th through the 10th. I had every one of those 2.5-year-old deer under me, a couple of does, nothing since. It's like the property has went completely dead with mature deer. They're just not there, and I don't get it. I know we had an amazing acorn crop this year, probably the most acorns we've had in 8 years or better. So there's a lot of browse, there's a lot of nuts in the woods this year. I attributed a lot of it to standing corn that stood midway through December before it was cut. I mean, that's a half a mile away in either direction of the property. But after the corn was picked, I figured cameras would blow up. They have not done so. We got one camera that I've had all kinds of issues with. It's actually hasn't checked in 2 days. I think it's finally kicked the bucket. But it's my oldest Tacticam that I have. It's been a really good camera, so 5 or 6 years old, I can't complain about it. But I don't get what's going on this property this year. I went from multiple mature deer last year. Didn't care to pass up 130, 140 inch deer hunting this 10 point, knowing that, you know, there's 2 or 3 there that are going to be even bigger this year. And if something happened and the 10 point didn't make it through the winter, or he didn't make it through gun season, or whatever, that there were still going to be opportunities there. It's not been that way. I mean, it's actually rather disappointing, confusing, borderline depressing. I don't know what's going on with the property this year. It's just not what it was a year ago, and I don't understand where the mature deer went. It makes no sense. It's just not. I mean, especially during the rut. I mean, I would get an influx of deer that we never got on camera any other time, as everybody does. During the rut, bucks you've never seen before and never seen them again. It just didn't happen this year. I mean, they're not coming in feeding on food plots. They're not feeding on anything. They're just not there. So I don't know what's going on. I mean, we want to change things up a little bit in the off season. I don't want to give up on the property because, I mean, one off year, you know, can't walk away from it just because we have one off season. But I just don't know if we've been hit with some EHD that we don't know of, if we've got a major poaching problem that we don't know of. I don't get it. I know there's some poaching goes on with probably some neighbors close. But I mean, these are deer that are missing this year that if somebody would have got them legitimately, you definitely want to heard about them. You know, the Big Ten that I had hunted for 2 seasons was taken while I was on vacation by a non-resident hunter, well deserving. He was in the right place, right time, on bordering property. And there's just been nothing on camera since then, and I don't get it. I don't know. I mean, it's, you know, maybe next year we'll get a rebound. I don't know what's going on, but I think there's a little bit as well. The state of Ohio is not going to admit it, but I think our herd numbers are down, especially in this part of the state. I mean, I'm talking to guys middle of the state, northern parts of the state are seeing, you know, what they've always seen as far as numbers go. We're not seeing them down here, and I'm not the only property that's saying the same thing. I know our total harvest this year is down, you know, 1,000 animals or so, but it's not a lot, but it's been down every year for the past 5 years running, I do believe. So I think the bag limits need to be looked at, maybe some adjustments made. maybe the numbers in this part of the state are a lot lower than they are in other parts of the state. I know we're getting an influx of out-of-state hunters because of the caliber of deer that's taken in this county. But I don't know, from one year to the next, I mean, from end of season to beginning of season, it's like they all disappeared, and I don't get where these freaking things went. Inventory on the property shows next couple years look really good if the deer that are there now stick around, but I don't know what the hell happened to the ones that were there last year. So, but anyway, like I said, still got a couple weeks left. Anything can happen. I mean, I'll go out this weekend, I'm sure, even if it rains. I've hunted every weekend in the rain. Saturday I was reaching over every 15 minutes and scraping freezing rain and ice stuff off my arrows and my sights just in case. But and now I've got a little bit of half-assed pneumonia and a cold, a sore throat, congested because of all this weather conditions that I'm too dumb to stay out of. But you never give up. That one time you don't go and you don't get in that tree is the one time he's going to show up on camera out of nowhere, even though you haven't seen him in months. I try to not make that a situation that's possible. But I'm going to get off this phone, finish this drive home. Like I say, it's pouring again, and standing water all over the place with high water signs. So hopefully I can get home, the river's not flooded. Finish out this week, get the rain gear ready to hit it again this weekend. Y'all have a good evening.